Now, despite what I've spoken about with companies lowering their requirements for degrees, we all know that the job market is butt ugly right now. Companies are committing wage theft, which if you haven't seen this video from Some More News, is linked for you down below. We've got businesses listing jobs as work from home, and yet they're actually making people go into the office. And of course, there is the age-old tradition of not actually listing what the salary is on the job, and every single workplace is fast-paced, never the same. Gotta love wearing multiple hats. Red flags all around. What the hell is an ATS and why is it trying to hire me? So an ATS is an applicant tracking system, and apparently about 97% of Fortune 500 companies use them. The thing is that applicant tracking systems are not a new thing and they have been used for years. However, AI is being used more throughout the entire process of recruitment now. From this Guardian article, in Australia, researchers estimate that there are now more than 250 commercial AI recruitment tools being used. How many times have you applied for a job with your CV and carefully crafted cover letter to then have this application form where you have to repeat all of that same information once again, even when it's like the whole autofill thing that does it all wrong. So you have to redo all of that work, which took you hours to actually do because you already spent ages actually researching the company before even applying there. It feels a bit like double handling on your part, doesn't it? But the thing is that your time actually costs the company nothing because you're a potential employee, so this is actually a money-saving activity for them. Let's look at an example of ATS from JobScan using the program Bullhorn. In this example, if you don't have a PHP, nah. But if you make it past that, you get scored on what the other bot wants. What the other company wants you to actually have in your CV. And if you don't score high enough, the red chair gets flipped. But there's a solution for you job seekers out there because you can use your own AI tool so then the bot can speak to the other bot. This is exactly how we want to be able to apply for jobs now, isn't it? But it is worth noting that you can't do the recommended thing of actually matching your CV and cover letter to what the job advert actually says. No, because there is a real term for that, which is keyboard stuffing. The goal of an ATS is to reduce human resource time because, you know,
time is money, money is power, power is pizza, pizza is knowledge, let's go.
And recruitment is actually one of the most expensive things that a company has to do when you actually take into account all of the hours of all of the different people that have to get involved in the process. But hey, AI is here to help, right? It's here to streamline things, to make things easier for the HR staff and also make sure things are safer for the company by doing things like psychometric testing. If people are actually concerned about their safety, they should be using the sponsor of this video, NordVPN. NordVPN is a virtual private network with servers positioned globally so you could be anywhere else you'd rather be in the world. Not only allowing you to access content from your favorite streaming service that isn't available in your country, but it also helps with your security too. Netflix's catalogue changes from country to country, and the show Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which is an amazing show which I love, has recently been taken away from here in Aotearoa. However, I can just go over to the USA and watch it there. And you know how Dune 2 has just released in cinemas? The original one isn't actually available in most countries, but you can head on over to the country of Bangers and Mash and watch it there in preparation for watching the new movie. By using NordVPN, you can also save money. Say you want to book a hotel somewhere, well, it's probably going to be more expensive if you live outside of that area. So say for example that I want to go to Sydney. I start Googling places and look at what comes up on the map, right? There is this really good deal apparently at Sydney Boutique Hotel, and that is $156 a night. I want to challenge that, so I use NordVPN to actually travel over to Sydney and have a look again, and boom, would you look at that, it's $132 a night. Yes, that's in Australian dollars, but even when you convert it, that's actually cheaper. The thing that I really appreciate about NordVPN is NordPass. Although they're different products, NordPass is incredibly useful for me because I've personally been finding password attacks way more common. And I know that you do it too, but having the same password you created as a teenager across multiple sites isn't very safe. But NordPass generates strong, unique passwords that I don't even have to remember to stay safe. So up your security by going to my link, nordvpn.com/Bryony, that's BRYONY, to get an exclusive deal and 4 bonus months on a 2-year plan. It's also linked in the description box down below and in the pinned comment. And it's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. I've worked at a number of places across my 34 years, right? But I've worked at my current place for about 4.5 years, so I know that things will be a bit out of date when it comes to like the recruitment process. So I asked you in a poll, and thank you so much for the 2,500 votes. So option 1 was the most popular with 53% of people answering this, which was submit a CV and then fill out all of that information again in the application, followed by 16% of people with option 2, which is CV, repeat the information again and do psychometric testing. 4% did a CV, repeated the information in the application and had to submit a video. 7% did a CV, repeat the information in the application and video and psychometric testing, aka all of the above. above. Congratulations, the 20% of people who haven't had to deal with this hell yet. Wow, you're very lucky. If you picked options 1 through 4, congratulations, you've dealt with an ATS.
Who only go through the AI process.
It's true. It does mean that AI is here to stay and that we have to get used to it and that we have to understand it so that we can impress it.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Let me see your brain. So let's talk about psychometric testing, or what I like to refer to as the second level of hell. Psychometric tests measure the skills, personality, and competency of a potential candidate. The 3 main types of psychometric assessments are aptitude tests, ability tests, and personality questionnaires. Each of these types has many subcategories, from situational judgment tests or verbal reasoning tests to numerical reasoning tests. According to Hayes, which is an absolutely ginormous company, psychometric tests are sold as the most unbiased option to choose because humans, we're fallible, we have judgments that we go into every situation with, myself included. I've never said that I'm a perfect person, right? So, you rely on technology instead because that doesn't have prejudices, except for the fact that it kind of does because of the way that they actually get programmed. Like Amazon famously just modeled everything after answers from men. So, there were some problems with that. For me personally, I've had to do psychometric testing, police checks, credit checks, all sorts of background checks. But a lot of the jobs that I've actually applied for and actually gotten into are, highly confidential and highly regulated industries, right? So for me at least, it does kind of make sense that you'd have to go through these extra, little leaps through the hoops, especially around police check and credit check stuff if you're dealing with people's finances. I get it. But this is something which is even being applied to people working at supermarkets. This is stuff that is being applied to so many roles which don't actually require it. What confidential and secretive information are you actually handling at Tesco's, Speaking of Tesco, they're a giant supermarket chain in the UK, but I found a website which actually goes through their entire interview process so you can see all of the steps that you have to go through. This is just for applying for a regular, degular job at Tesco. Your regular, cashier, supermarket shelf stocking, all of that sort of stuff, which is essential work. I'm not downplaying the amount of work that takes because it truly is huge. You have to deal with customers. I've dealt with customer service for 5 years and it sucks. I'm not downplaying that. What I'm saying is, does it really require all of these steps? But they do have some sample psychometric tests that you can do. So I actually chose the situational judgment one. Long story short, I couldn't pass. I'm able to be an executive assistant. I'm able to do all sorts of highly confidential stuff, including legal things. But at a checkout, I am not allowed to work at. And I've been looking at forums and chat rooms, and people have been saying that the psychometric testing part of applying for supermarket jobs is the thing that they fail at and they don't know what they're doing wrong. Well, if I'm being completely honest when it comes to what I would actually do in these scenarios, especially when it comes to the one where I'm in a senior position, I've got people below me, and the big boss has said, oh, everyone's going to get a bonus this year, we're going to do all of this. And then they turn around and say no. You think that I'm going to tell my staff, oh, just suck it up, deal with it? The answer that you're meant to pick is this one on the screen now. I was I'd do that, yes, by saying that I appreciate them, because of course I'd appreciate my staff members. But first off, I would be choosing option A, and I'd be talking to my boss, because I'd be saying this isn't acceptable for them to actually do this to people, to say one thing, then turn around after they've put in so much work and say, actually, no. I'm getting some Griswold energy. If you've seen the movie, then you'll know what I'm on about here.
I want him brought from his happy holiday slumber over there in Melody Lane with all the other rich people, and I want him brought right here. I don't want to tell him what a cheap, lying, no-good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirt-eating, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant...
The way that they want you to behave is kind of like you've just eaten the company policy for breakfast and you're just num num num, all of my brain is just full of this paper now. Do you know what? When it actually comes to the hundreds of people that I've had the pleasure of working with, when it comes to all of the amazing leaders that I've had the pleasure of working with, you know what none of them are like? None of them are like those drone people, okay? All of these leaders, which I have highly, highly admired and learnt so much from, they're always compassionate, they're always here for the whole team, they're the ones that actually challenge the status quo that's coming down from above, and they're the ones that actually look out for everybody and make sure that things are equitable. Those are the people. They don't just throw people under the bus and just go disciplinary, disciplinary, disciplinary. Those are not the people that you want at your business, and that's what these psychometric tests are actually testing for. They want the drones. They don't want the good leaders that actually make people inspired to work for them, inspired to work for the company.
I know what you're thinking. I'm being interviewed by a robot? Well, Something like that.
Now we're entering into the third layer of hell. Smile. AI is watching. Now, when it comes to the interview portion, how many of you have had to do a video version of this? And no, I don't mean on Zoom or Teams, even though, please do let me know if you accidentally had a cat filter on during that, because that would be amazing.
I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
This is the kind of interview where you have to answer questions that an AI poses to you and you're timed and you have to just answer in a video format and submit it. No redos, no nothing. They just give you a question and you're timed. Have you had to deal with that? Does it sound awful? Yeah, because it is. This creates such a huge level of anxiety for people. No one really has to do this sort of stuff in their regular day job. Yes, that these automatic interviews are incredibly useful for businesses because no HR time, no personnel time is actually taken up with this, because the AI is actually just trained on exactly what they need to look out for when it comes to the perfect candidate. There can't be any problems with this. AI hasn't been found to have any racial or sexist bias or anything like that, right? The National Career Services in the UK have a whole host of guidelines for you, the candidate, to make sure that your interview with the robot goes as smoothly as possible. To quote this little bit of dystopia straight for you, in a pre-recorded interview, you will not be speaking to anyone. You will not have any visual clues from an interviewer to encourage you. To help, try to imagine you're talking to a real person. Wow, I didn't know they were training people to become a YouTuber. They're just missing out on the hate comment training. Considering the fact that you're going to be working with, presumably, people at this company, it's really concerning to me how much of this is automated and judged by computers, when so much of the interview process is about you getting to know each other, because you can tell so much based on like the people that you're actually interviewing as a candidate. You get the full feel for the place. But this has all been removed, so now all of the power is just sitting with the companies as they look down on you, or have their bots look down on you, I should say, and they're just judging to see how well the puppet does. And it's like, that feels so dystopian to me. These programs determine someone's appropriateness for the job based on criteria that the company gives, and also the bias that's given to the software itself. Who does all of this AI hell discriminate against? So to say it's a nightmare going through an applicant tracking system is an understatement, but it's even more so if you're neurodivergent. This article, written by psychologist Nancy Doyle for Forbes, dives into this much deeper as they gathered some neurodiverse folk they knew to take the same psychometric test for an ATS company that wants to actually consider the needs of neurodiverse people, and they all struggled in various ways. The issue comes down to the way that questions are written, and the answers themselves, those are the problem. The psychologist explains this herself, being someone with ADHD. The question involved choosing one of 4 example email responses to an urgent scenario. I was confused. Why has this been left so late? I wouldn't be emailing on the morning of the presentation. I'd have emailed a few days ago and I'd be on the phone for sure. My husband, in a pragmatically neurotypical style, replied, just pick the answer that's best of the bunch. I laughed when I realised how obvious this is to a neurotypical, but that I as a neurodiverse person just couldn't move on. Of course, that's what's expected, but I'm stuck. I can't move on because there isn't an answer I would actually do. I'm now wondering whether I want to work in this hypothetical company. The issue comes down to wanting more detail, more context, and the ability to actually give the proper response that you would give. Just like I was saying before when it comes to those psychometric tests that I did. The thing is, right, it's really good to actually hire the people that want to get the details, that want to get the full context, and that want to know how things all fit together, because those are the people that are going to be solving the problems, right? Wanting the same kind of employee that you already have in your workplace actually just means that the workplace won't develop, which is something that the psychologist and myself think. One of the solutions was to allow people to write what they wanted, but as talked about before, ATS are there to make things faster and they pick out keywords. There aren't humans actually deciphering these results until later down the track, and it's easier to put neurodiverse people in the too hard basket. And from your responses to the poll as well, there were a number of you who actually struggled with the entire job application process because of your neurodiversity as well. So it's like this whole system is just broken. It doesn't actually make sense. And a study was conducted in the UK in 2023 where they used qualitative and quantitative data from 225 autistic, 64 non-autistic, neurodivergent, and 88 neurotypical adults. And the thing is that regardless of who answered, they all found similar things that frustrated them and that they struggled with. 1. Frustration population with a focus on social skills. 2, a perceived need for more flexible hiring processes. 3, a desire for more clarity. And 4, the importance of environment. However, for autistic folk, there were even more challenges, such as masking, fear of stigma and discrimination. Participants also discussed how employers can impact whether somebody decides to disclose their diagnosis or needs or not. Participants' recommendations for improvement included the use of more practical recruitment strategies, e.g. work trials, more clarity about what to expect, and improvement in recruiters' understanding of challenges autistic and neurodivergent candidates may face. Do I personally see companies making these suggested positive changes? No, because I mean, come on, we all know like it would cost more money to make these positive changes. It would mean training for staff, which costs money. It would mean more time actually spent in the whole recruitment process, which is something that the whole ATS came about to reduce because, of course, like I said before, it's a costly process in recruitment anyway. And let's talk about the issue of race as well, right? Because racism when it comes to job applications has been a thing for decades, right? Like no matter all of the anti-discrimination laws I was already on about, like it's still something that is very, very apparent, and there have been many studies which actually show this already, and the issue is still showing up today even when the people are using AI, which is meant to help get rid of biases. It's almost like the data that is feeding AI about what an ideal candidate is isn't actually someone that is anything other than white. A 2021 study in the USA, systemic discrimination among large US employers sent more than 83,000 fictitious applications with randomized characteristics to geographically dispersed jobs posted at 108 of the largest US employers. Our analysis establishes that many large US employers exhibit nationwide patterns and racial discrimination that are temporally and spatially stable. Racial and gender contact gaps are highly concentrated in particular firms. We estimate that the 20% of firms discriminating most heavily against black names are responsible for roughly half of the contacts lost to racial discrimination in our experiment. Racial discrimination appears to be widespread amongst the jobs posted by these firms. I told you, and also gender comes into play with this as well, because of course it does, because job descriptions have gendered language. When it comes to what the ATS is actually looking out for, they're going to be looking out for the masculine phrases, which who's more likely to use? The men are more likely to use. So then this is another way that we actually create like a more sexist system, even though it's meant to be all about creating equality. Did you know they even have a tool to make sure that job descriptions aren't using too much gendered language? Yeah. That had to be invented because of this issue. Glassdoor have also pointed out these issues, but they will not tell you that ATS is bad, because why would they? Well, they can profit from it. So they've pointed out that it's ageist, racist, sexist, and ableist. Oh, all these fun things to deal with, but apparently there are, quote, easy fixes for this. They've even got a fix for racism, despite the fact that they've actually said that natural language software can prioritize white-sounding names. The fixes suggested were eliminate chatbots and don't require one-way videos, which can lead to discrimination. They've got a fix for the gender bias as well, to get someone from your organization's LGBTQ+ and diversity and inclusion committee to review the job postings. Okay, cool. I don't like this because it's like you're getting these people that are on this committee to actually help their fellow workers out and create a safer space, because workplaces often aren't. You're getting them to do extra unpaid work. My best advice, unless you're being paid for it, don't help the business out, help each other out. And apparently to end the ableism which is inherent throughout the entire job application process, make sure your website and application forms and processes are accessible to everyone, including people using screen readers. Eliminate duplicative systems when possible, such as entering information already provided on the resume. Offer alternate ways to apply, such as an email address, if the form is not working for an applicant. Ooh, it sounds like we're winding the clock backwards and we're adding some humanity back into HR.
I want to be your assistant.
Really? You hate it here.
So do you. I'll make sure you don't have to go to any meetings. If anyone comes to see you, I'll scare them away.
Wait, April, if you had to choose between these two ties...
You're hired.
Let's get on to my final thoughts, and don't worry, we are not sinking into a further layer of hell. The thing is that all of this came about to find the ideal candidate, right? Who is someone who is neurotypical, most likely white, most likely a married man, because that means that they've got less responsibility on their shoulders. I mean, sure, it could definitely be a BIPOC person, but the BIPOC person will probably have to prove themselves by working somewhere similar beforehand, right? And also, don't have too black a sounding name or too foreign a sounding name. And another thing which comes up all the time is that the candidate has to love work so much that they don't do anything at all outside of work except for spend time with their wholesome family, and that's all that they post about on social media. Nothing else at all. This is another video which I really want to make about the online footprint, especially when it comes to the fact that we've got people who have grown up on social media, we've got people who have grown up in the public space, and these people are going to be the people who are leading the big companies. These are the people that are going to be leading politics. And I just really want to talk about this whole issue from a myriad of different perspectives. So are you keen for that video? Because I want to make it, it'll be a bigger one, but I think it will be like good anyway. It's something that's been percolating for a while. Offices and workspaces are designed to maximize profit, hence the open plan push for the last few decades. Even though people hate, loathe and despise open plan offices, they're not going away anytime soon because they save the company so much money. That's the sole reason that they were even created to begin with, was to reduce cost. Shocker. The rejection felt from not hearing no or why is so much worse these days in my opinion, because people have to jump through so many more hoops. People have to put in so much more work. Like previously, you would look into the company, you would do the cover letter, you would do a CV, and you would apply, and then you'd hear back from people, have a phone interview, then maybe go for a real interview, and that's it. You know, like you would probably get a rejection email. I, in my previous job, have actually been that person to do that initial vetting process and to reject people. It's always sad and always awful.
Is this your reply?
Yes, sir.
Are you laughing at me?
No.
Are you rejecting me?
There is none of that now because you're just talking to a robot, and when the AI just says no, it's just like, okay, that one's gone, no pal, no pal, no pal. Not only now are you having to re-enter your information into the CV, you're having to do another application process and then go on to psychometric testing, go onto an assessment center, do all this video interviewing stuff with a robot, and then...
What do you mean? What do you mean?
So you've got people applying for hundreds of jobs and they're only hearing back from a handful of them. And it's no wonder that people feel ghosted, even though you haven't had a relationship with these companies, because you've poured so much effort in. Looking for a job is a full-time job as far as I'm concerned. It takes so much out of you to do it. And the way that it's actually turned these days is just so dystopian. It's no wonder why people are fed up with this, especially when you've gone through all of this effort to then just...
Computer says no.
You also know that I like to finish my videos with recommendations and things that we can fix. I sadly don't really even have one for you, I'm sorry. Maggie Hulse, Executive Vice President and General Manager at JobSeeker at Indeed, wrote in her article here, one of the best solutions would be to embrace direct interview flows and not limit job searches unnecessarily by defining the ideal candidate, which can introduce bias and barriers to the review process. Basically, for such a human process, go back to humanity to find the best person for the job. Trying to match people to what an AI has determined to be the ideal candidate has clearly not working right now, because we've got people that have been working in these industries for years and they're struggling to get jobs even though they've got heaps of amazing experience, they're super qualified, but then there's nothing. So there's definitely something which is very broken, and ATS could absolutely be part of that problem, is what we're saying here. I'm not saying, like I said at the start, the job market and what businesses are doing is not that great to begin with, but this is just another layer of difficulty. And I really do wish I had a nicer thing to be able to say at the end of this, but at least know that you're not alone with this struggle. So many people are struggling with this. There have been studies done about this. Of course, everything is linked down below as per usual. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, I think you should leave the pizza emoji, because I think you deserve it, especially if you're on the dystopian job hunt at the moment. Honestly, I wish you so much luck, and I wish that you can actually find somewhere that doesn't just chuck you through an ATS to see who is the best candidate, and that you can actually just have a like in-person chat with someone or a Zoom chat with someone. That's great. I will see you in 2 weeks for the next video. Thank you so very much for watching, and a huge thanks once again to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to check out my link, which is in the pinned comment down below, or just go to nordvpn.com/Bryony to go get that amazing deal. Thank you lovelies so much for watching. I'll see you again next time. Bye.
I will pit Ron and Chris against each other. They'll argue about dumb stuff
that doesn't matter, and I will bail. Then I'll steal $20 from Chris's wallet and buy pizza with Andy. Oh, and I'll also steal Ron's watch just for fun.
I think April will be a fine manager.